In videos 1 and 3, we looked at importing, using Power Query Editor, we looked at importing Excel files and we looked at importing a relational database like Access. Now I want to bring in a text file or a CSV file. And I'm going to do this from within Power Query. So I'm in the Power Query Editor and I'm simply going to go New Source, which we've used a couple of times now. And to bring in a text file or CSV file, you just go for the File option. Again, if I move this over, you can see there's the option here, text or CSV, as well as other options. So I'll click this button here, and then I'll select a file called Product Subcategories, which you can see in my screen as a CSV file. You may not see the full stop CSV, but it's a text file, a CSV file. So I'll import that. Immediately the navigator window will come up. Here is the actual file itself. And so I'm just going to click OK and bring in the data. And so now I see my data has been imported into my Power Query Editor. Now, what I'd like to do now is look at changing the name of a query and using the query settings and the properties in the name field here. So for example, I want to rename this, so I just edit it directly, Bike Products by Month. And as soon as I press enter, that's exactly what you see on the left hand side, including the spelling mistake. So I just click back in here and just fix it. So at any point in time, if you want to change the name of a query, then you simply click it on the left hand side, and on the right hand side, you simply edit the name. If I then go to click the close and load button, I'll be taken back to Excel. And if you look at the bottom of the screen, let me just move this over, you can see there are a lot more sheets in here than there were before. In fact, if I right click, I can see that there's a number of sheets. Oops. And in fact, here they are all listed here. So all I did here was right click. Sorry, we had a little bit of a glitch while it was loading all the data. Right click, and you can see all the sheets that you have in this particular Excel file, as well as just moving between them by clicking. I can close the queries and connections pane, just so it doesn't take up so much real estate, but I've basically brought all the data in. I'd like to save this file, so I'm just going to hit the save button, and I might just save it to the desktop. And I'm going to give it the name Data Model. And it's just a normal Excel workbook. And save. So we've brought in data from text CSV files, we've brought in data from Excel files, and we've even brought in data from Access databases. But the other thing that you can do is you can create a table within Power Query. Let's go back to the Query tab in the ribbon and back to Edit. If I want to create a table in Power Query, then all I've got to do is simply go to the Enter Data button, which is a couple below the New Source button. So this is the way we've been importing data. These are recent sources we've brought in, and this is how you create a new table. So I'm going to go Enter Data. A little window will bring up, and this is the Create Table. And here I'm just going to put a table name, just at the bottom here, and I'm going to call it my volunteers list. So I don't have this anywhere, so I'm creating it within Power Query. Now column 1, I'm just going to click a couple of times on column 1 until it allows me to edit it, and I'll call this name. Now I need another column, so I hit this plus, and then I click again on column 1, or double click it, and type phone, and enter. You can also right click and insert a column and delete a column. Then I'm going to enter a record, so I'll put my own name, and I'll make up a phone number. But I have another volunteer, so this plus here will allow me to insert a row as opposed to inserting a column. So I'll insert a row, and this person is Sue Jones, and I'll make up a phone number for her as well. So if you need to create a table, Oops, I've accidentally made another row. I can right click row 3 and I can delete. You can delete a row by right clicking. You can insert a row by hitting the plus. You can delete a column by right clicking and insert a column by hitting the plus. You can name the table whatever you want it to be and have as many columns and as many rows as you like to type. But if I click OK, what I'll find in my list of queries is a 14th query, and it's at the bottom because it was the last thing to be loaded, and it's called volunteers list. If I now want to go back to Excel, I'll close and load. And if I right click, oh, there you'll see volunteers list, and there's the details there. If I right click the triangles in the bottom left, I can see I've got all of these tables in here, and cancel. And in fact, if I go to the last sheet, which is simply called sheet 1 and got nothing in it, I can right click sheet 1 and I can delete that sheet because there's nothing in it. I can see here, these are my queries and connections, and these immediately jump me to the relevant sheet and tell me how many rows there are and some information regarding the details about that particular query or table.